opportunity that can expand not just to the station, but to other uses in space flight, such as exploration, asteroids, Mars, wherever we're going. And we hope it'll transfer into other civilian uses in space. For maybe other stations will follow this one, and we'll be able to participate in that.
Thank you.
Steve, did you want to add?
Yeah, the only thing I would add on, Ken, is that Frank said it right when he said the station is really our stepping stone. And if you use that analogy of stepping stones, the next stone, we need to use this stone to know what the next stone looks like, right? So we can get ready, whether that's research, whether it's what it does to the human body, the things we're learning today. You don't want to jump off that platform before you're ready. And so we're learning every day how to live and operate in space. And fortunately, we're close to home, and if something comes up, we can get home. The further we go, the more we need to know about how to operate in space, what kind of protection we need, what kind of research we need for the astronauts, but also what kind of systems do we need. And these guys are putting systems up there that allow us to just test more and more, get more time, because when we get further away, we can't get home as quick. And so those are the kind of things that we get to do. And with this extension, I can now make those investments as an agency, not just us, but our academic partners, our industry partners. Yeah, the launch market is part of this, as these guys have shown today, but it's also the researchers, the scientists, even universities now can do that. I mean, if you saw the excitement today of the kids and the students that were out at the viewing area where I was, for just being able to take a CubeSat, a 4-inch by 4-inch cube that they've worked on, and they just launched today. That's pretty cool. I mean, that is exactly what we need to be doing, and that's the people that are, as Frank said, are going to take our jobs. And as long as they know that's going to be there for a while, this gives them that chance to train and learn and do the research that we need to take people further. So it is the stepping stone, and it's really important for us to have this extension.
I spoke to them yesterday. They were very excited.
Yeah.
I think we all envy them.
Yes, I think we do.
Stephen.
Thanks, Trent. Stephen Clark with Spaceflight Now. A couple of questions for Frank and Robert. First, for Frank, the ISS extension to 2024, and your current contract runs through the 2016 timeframe, I understand. A lot more flights potentially for Cygnus and Antares. So beyond 2016, as you get your cadence down, what sort of cost savings do you expect to be able to offer NASA from the 1.9 billion CRS contract? And also for Mr. Lightfoot, when do you plan to recompete or extend SpaceX Orbital new providers? How do you foresee that mechanism working, and when do you plan to do it? Thanks.
Well, if Robert answers first, I might be able to give you a better answer.
Well, and I think for us, part of the whole, we have an acquisition strategy we'll go through as an agency in terms of how we go purchase these services in the future. One of the key parts of that strategy is how long, right? And so we just got that yesterday. So we'll be folding that into our process for any extension that we do in terms of the service provider. So we're just now, I mean, this was part of our strategy, was to first know we're going to try to go to 2024, and then that'll fold into our acquisition strategy as we go forward. So we know we got till 16. We've got flights with Orbital and with SpaceX already on the books, and this will actually begin to shape our strategy as we go forward. We just haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, the variables are the same for both sides of the equation, whether you're the customer or the provider, and that's understanding what's available, how long you want to go, and then what is also possible in terms of reducing costs. I can't tell you in front of these guys what kind of numbers we might be thinking about, but we definitely will go to more of a production mode rather than a development mode on the spacecraft and the rocket, and we've already demonstrated that in the company with our commercial satellites that we provide for ComSats and for science use and other purposes, where we just turn them out of the factory with modifications as necessary for the customer. And we really can get very efficient with that if we can do the same design over and over. And that's what we would intend to do for the next phase of CRS services. We would like to see NASA tell us as quickly as possible what they want to do, because the sooner we know, the sooner we can get other vendors, other suppliers on contract and get our plans in place to give them the most cost-effective solution. But definitely this extension, I think, will help move things along.
Okay, Robert, and then we'll take one from social. Hi, Robert Perlman with CollectSpace.com with a question for Frank. Looking at the more immediate future at the 2 flights for the later this year, can you give an update on where you are with the hardware for those flights, both Antares and Cygnus?
Sure. Our next flight is planned for early May. May 1st, I think, is the current planned date. The next one is in early October. We actually have virtually all the hardware for both of those flights, either here or in process. The long pole on the Antares is the engines, finishing the ATP acceptance testing at Cygnus and getting the engines delivered here. We've got other cores on the way here, so we'll actually have, I think, 4 cores here in about 2 weeks, which will take us into next year. On the Antares side, we have the first, we've got the spacecraft completed through Orb-3, and Orb-4 and 5 are in work. And the PCMs have actually been completed up through about Orb-6. That's the pressurized cargo module, with the last 2 going through final assembly now. And then the subsystems are either on order or on dock. And so we're in very good shape in terms of availability of hardware.
We'll take a question from social.
Wonderful. Our first question from social media comes from Twitter user JupiterFix. Could Cygnus make a 4-orbit rendezvous profile and dock to the ISS in 6+ hours?
Mr. DeMauro? My program manager is sitting back there, and the challenge I've given the team is to get there in 1 day. So we're working on that. This really is just our first contract delivery flight, so we're being somewhat conservative. But actually, we're getting there in half the time we would have on the demo mission already. And if the phasing were right, we could probably do it in 1 day less. It really depends on where the station is when we launch, and how long it takes us to finish all of the orbital adjustments. But I really would like to get there in 1 day to support the science program and get the cargo on board as quickly as possible.
Let's do one more.
Wonderful. Our next question comes from Twitter user Greg Beat. Did the Castor 30B, the new second stage, perform as expected?
Yes, it did.
Let's go to the phone line. I understand we have a couple reporters there. We'll start with Tarek Malik from Space.com. If you have a question, Tarek. Let's try Dan Leone, Space News. Let's go back to Wallops. Any questions here?
They told us there's going to be a blackout with that solar flare.
Could be solar flare. Any further questions? Go ahead, Stephen, follow.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up for maybe Frank. How long is this mission programmed to last? 30 to 45 days? What's the variable there?
30 to 45 days, and the variable's really on NASA's side of the equation. They've got another mission coming in February, SpaceX. They've also got a Russian EVA and a Russian Progress that are coming up, and so they have to work all this traffic model together. We will guarantee them at least 45 days up there if they want it. Right now, I think it's, 40 days, Frank? So we have some flexibility there. I wanted to add one thing to a previous answer, if I could. Who's that?
That was you.
Oh. I know Trent hates it when I do this, but we were talking earlier about the extension and what that means, and we talked about the ability to get more science up there and to make more plans. I think another thing that we need to push really hard for with commercial cargo, commercial crew transportation, and the other capabilities that are coming in the country is to fly more people to the space station on a more frequent basis. Right now we're flying people for about 6 months at a time, crews of 3, rotating in overlapping fashion, and a cruise of 6 in overlapping fashion. We may eventually get to 7, but the more people we fly, the more interest we'll get in the country. And I think there's a place for people who need to be up there for 6 to 12 months for a variety of reasons. There's probably a place for people who could go up for a month, finish their experiment, and come home. Now, I know all you need is a little more money for transportation systems, Robert, but think about it in terms of how many people could then come back and tell people about what they've done and push the program and help move it forward, as well as how much experience could we continue to develop in this country in space flight. How many hours, how many days could you spend in space, and then how ready those people will be to do the long missions for exploration to the moon and Mars and beyond. So I really think that having a longer commitment by the station and an encouraging industry to come up with more innovation on how to efficiently transport cargo and crew up there will help NASA then maybe transition to a higher traffic model for the crews themselves. It's just my opinion.
Let's go back to the phone line, see if we can get Tarek Malik. Go ahead, Tarek, if you can hear me. All right, let's do a follow-up with Ken here in the audience, and then we'll go back to social.
Hi, follow-up for Frank. Ken Kramer first today. Talk a little bit about, you've got the larger Cygnus, Cygnus cargo module. What will that allow you to do? And also looking in the long term, talk about the possibilities to leave a Cygnus up there, again in relation to the fact that ISS is going to be there longer now, so this may give you more incentive to develop a long-duration Cygnus.
Oh, we're happy to do that. Yes, the extended Cygnus will fly, or enhanced Cygnus as we call it, will fly on Orb-1, which will be early 2015. It'll be a meter longer. It'll carry about 600 or 700 kilograms more of cargo than the current one, which of course gives NASA more flexibility. And we think it'll also benefit the station greatly by being able to get more cargo up there. And now we don't want to have the downside of saying, well, you carry more so you fly less often. We just want them to do more up there, so they'll need to use it. But it also allows us to take heavier and denser cargo up there, including water and batteries and things like that if needed. As far as staying on orbit longer, we've had discussions with NASA and other people actually about that with Cygnus. The spacecraft itself is based on the legacy of our commercial satellites that are designed sometimes for as much as 15 years. And so we've got really robust components in the spacecraft with a lot of capability for maneuvering and rendezvous, as you've seen. And so I think it could be used to support exploration. It could be used to support long-duration missions elsewhere. It could also be used to test systems on the station if NASA would like to do that. They could attach a Cygnus, unload the cargo, and then activate a life support system, for example, for testing for a trip to Mars or wherever they'd like to go. They could actually lock a crew in there for 12 months and see how they do, and simulate a Mars mission. I'd do it.
Yeah, but I think to your question, the extension allows us to start having those kind of discussions in a very serious way, right? Because there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those kind of examples, and as long as they're all aligned with where we're heading from a perspective, like Frank said, where we're heading to take people further into space, those are the kind of things, the kind of discussions we'll be able to have now, with a much longer term view of where we want to go. So that's what's pretty exciting about it.
Let's take two more, and we'll let you guys get back to spaceflight. We'll take one from social and do a follow-up with Robert. Go ahead, Jason.
Wonderful. This question comes from Twitter user Dean Ripley. Does Orbital Sciences plan on the development of a human-rated Cygnus module, assuming the continued success of CRS?
Right now, we're not working on human rating the Cygnus itself. It has a certain amount of human rating in order to be able to fly to the space station. But in terms of being able to launch people in it or to return people to Earth, it's not currently in our plans. We could make modifications, but that's a ways away.
Robert.
Actually, since the phone lines weren't working via social media, Tarek Malik from Space.com, a question for Frank. How long is Cygnus going to stay at the station? Do you have a target undocking day?
Well, about 40 days is the current plan. We could stay 45, and if NASA needed us to, we could probably figure out a way to stay longer, but currently 45 is what we're contracted for on this mission.
Inventive, like it. Okay, that's going to do it. So as Frank said, we have we're looking ahead to Rendezvous on Sunday, January 12th. NASA TV coverage of that will begin at 5 a.m. for a 6:02 grapple. NASA TV coverage will continue at 7 a.m. for the installation by the Expedition 38 crew as they berth Cygnus. So, on behalf of everyone here at Wallops, I'm Trent Parado. Thank you so much. Please help me thank our panelists for joining us today. Go Cygnus. Thank you.